As to what we saw in that CCTV footage, I analyzed that, and it's pretty clear. There was some communication between people within Keenan's team and the assailants.
How sure do you know, though?
I analyzed the video.
It's dangerous to be an internet detective, Nota.
And unfortunately, that's the position that we're in when we don't have effective detective work that is being done in this country, and we've got an open case like the Sinzo Meyiwa case almost a decade later.
This is the Hustler's Corner.
www.ocontemporary.co.za. If you look to my right, you look to my right, all of those pieces are by an incredible, amazingly talented South African artist by the name of Thandazani Ndlovu. These four over here, they retail for around 8,000. For people in the art sector, they do know that art is an asset. And when you buy a piece, especially from incredible artists like Thandazani Ndlovu, you're basically investing. I can only imagine how much each of these pieces will be worth in 5 years from now. And then if you look on my to my left, the one behind me, it's Thando Ngoenya. This one is retailing just a little above 9,000 rands. But I'll tell you, since it's been on the Hustler's Corner, we're going to put a link in the description. Just click it. It'll take you to their website. But if you don't find it and it's sold out, you know, the hustlers here that we're dealing with are art collectors. They love cars. They love the finer things in life. They love empowering their communities. And then we've got younger guys who want knowledge, who want to learn, and who are staunch and avid subscribers and fans and supporters of our podcast. And for that, we thank you once again. www.ocontemporary.co.za. They are based in Cedar Square, which is around north of Johannesburg in 4 ways. First come, first serve. If you don't find any of these pieces available anymore, you're going to have to shop for other pieces that they have. But they only have a limited number of these. So in case you are aware. A lot has happened in the past week. NOTA is here. I'm being affiliated with NOTA. A lot of people are being mad at me. Why are you mixing with NOTA? Why are you affiliated with him? And anything that happens to NOTA, they're asking me. Anything that happens to PENUEL, they're asking me. We live different lives, but we're on a platform here. The last time we did an episode with NOTA, aka our brother was still alive, may his soul rest in peace. Tibbs, our brother, was still alive, may his soul rest in peace. So today's episode will pretty much be mostly about what has happened in the past week, but also number two, we had an episode we're supposed to record earlier. Some things happened and NOTA will share. It's from police stations. It was with the police. I don't know what happened.
Mental asylum.
How are you? Let's start there, Gujan.
I've been tested by 4 psychiatrists, you know, and they all cleared me.
What does that mean? Would they cleared you?
So I was taken for involuntary admission at the Poort View, which is Roodepoort View, but it's in, I think, just north of Remsig, that side of town. It's like a boutique rehab center that has been turned into a life mental health place where people get treated, where people can check themselves in if they feel like they've been having, you know, some difficulties with their mental health, and where my family thought, you know, since I was having another grieving experience.
Is this last week or today? Because today there was another episode that happened. Actually,
yeah, this morning.
We're shooting this 4 hours. NOTA is 4 hours late, guys. And NOTA is never late a lot of times, especially when we're recording podcasts.
Yeah.
So I've had to wait, the whole team, we've had to wait for him for 4 hours. Maybe let's start there. What happened today?
So this morning, you know, I was a little bit in a rush coming here because I was trying to be not late. And I wanted to grab a coffee first to be fresh. Being here for time, Justice was supposed to arrive at 9 for setup. I didn't want to arrive after him, as I'm the guy who sent him here as I see Stone walking past from Bonga Muffin.
Shout outs to Stone and Murder Bongs. Just seen Murder as well.
Yeah.
Shout outs, bro.
So the traffic cops on where I was coming out from Sloane Avenue, which is the same street where my brother AKA lives on. I was coming out from Sloane onto Main Road in Bryanston, and there was a car that was swerving, and there's a curve right as you get off Sloan onto Main Road, right as before it gets straight, before the traffic lights at the engine garage. There's a part where the road curves. So I wanted to overtake this guy, and I overtook him.
At a curve?
No, just before the curve.
Oh, okay.
The road curves
why
a bit.
Overtake before the
There's
curve?
2 lanes.
Okay.
So he was swerving in and out of his lane.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to be ahead of him. Okay. So I was overtaking, like legally. And legally, when you're overtaking, you're allowed to go for a brief amount of time over the speed limit. Unfortunately, a still camera doesn't capture video. And I was over the speed limit. And when they checked on the chart, it says, listen, we have to take you in.
So they stopped you?
No, they stopped me, yes. So I was thinking, okay, it's a routine stop. And then they said, hey, listen, you're over the limit. Can we show you the camera? And I went and saw the camera, and lo and behold, I was 40 kilometers an hour over the limit. And you know how I've been on the police officers and the metro cops for obeying the law. So they had to obey the law. And if I was 40 kilometers over the speed limit, unfortunately, DJ Smoo has to wait. I need to go in, I need to be booked in, I need to get my police bail. And so I went through that entire process. And that took 4 hours, you know what I mean? While they were filing, while they were opening a case, and they expedited it as much as they could. They also understood that I have to do some educational content, and a lot of the guys who were there, they appreciated it. The police treated me well. The metro cops treated me well as well. I mean, there was one guy who had some sort of attitude, but I won't let him represent the entire force that was there, And they were just obeying the law. And it just so happens that sometimes, when people can see that you're an influential person and you do an infraction,
they recognize you.
They stop me saying, "Nangu NOTA." They recognize saying, "Nangu NOTA, nang, misan." So you need to be an example, and that's what I have to do. So now on Monday morning, I have a court appearance to explain to the magistrate that I was overtaking, and hopefully when my lawyers explain it and they lay out the statement, the judge will apply leniency, because the camera does show that I was changing lanes, which is indicative of someone who's overtaking a car. And if you're overtaking for that brief amount of time, you're allowed to go over the speed limit, and it should be just one of those police bail refunds where I get my 500 Rand back. But thank you guys for waiting here.
Before we continue,
Yeah.
over the past year, though, you haven't been exemplary with traffic cops and police. You've been seen on videos that you personally posted where you're screaming and arguing with traffic cops at some point, where you're swearing at them. What type of an example is that?
Well, that is the example of what we face when we face police brutality. That is my reaction to police brutality. So what people don't understand is that before those engagements with the police, let me add some. Sure. Before those engagements with the police, I had a case where I was wrongfully arrested within my own home. I was George Floyded. They put a knee on my neck in front of my mother. They scared, they terrified my entire family. So as much as I was posting those videos publicly with cops breaking the law or not obeying the law or not sticking to the rules, and making our country seem more lawless, seem like police are not observing, seem like someone can just shoot us outside of a restaurant because there's no police visibility, So I confronted that, and that was also part of a way of me actually personally dealing with my post-traumatic stress, to actually confront my fear of police. Because after that experience with the police where they had, a knee on my neck, and obviously we'd all watched
a knee on your
neck? Yes, on purpose. Because we'd all seen the George Floyd videos in 2020.
So when you're saying they were George Floyd and you literally...
They were doing it on purpose. They were saying you're a small boy while they were doing that. The only thing that stopped them from doing any further harm is because at my complex, the head of security actually secures my unit personally. And watches over me. So anytime there's a police interaction or anything like that, there's a guy who guards the police who comes with a chest camera and holds it like this and records everything that they do. So as soon as the head of security heard that there was something involving me, he drove his car and he was there. And he was there to say, calm down, I'm recording everything. They're not going to do any more harm. Don't resist. You can go with them. Don't worry, I've got you. But it was still a traumatic experience. I was still held for many hours. I was brutalized. I was bruised. Even now, like the cops, they tied my cuffs a little bit too tight. I think you can see some markings, right?
See some marks,
but they loosened them as soon as I complained.
Okay.
You understand? The guy who was tightening them, I had a long sleeve with thick cuffs, so he couldn't feel that. Okay, and I'm a very skinny guy, so it's very easy to hurt me with the handcuffs because you squeeze harder than you would on a guy with a thicker wrist. So they released it, you know what I mean? It was just a procedural thing. It wasn't something where like I was being belligerent with them or I resisted with them. It's just an inconvenience. And one of those things that's unfortunate that our system, which catches people on camera, actually doesn't work well because it can't tell the nuances between someone who's overtaking as well. It's a still photo. A second thing, and also when someone sees a camera, you know, they're more inclined to make a sharp stop, an immediate stop, you know, or they see a traffic light camera, you know, they're more inclined to stop so sharply that they might cause an accident or cause more harm than is intended by just having a speed camera there to ensure that people stay within the speed limits. And so our camera system as well, over the studies that they've done over our speed camera system, they've seen internationally that it doesn't actually work at reducing people's speed. It just actually increases incidents of accidents where people suddenly stop because they see a camera or they're trying to avoid being fined, you know. And they also find that once people have slowed down in time for a camera, immediately after they've passed the camera, they also speed up. So it's not really working that well, except for generating revenue for the city. In fines, etc., etc. But you know, I'm pretty cool with that whole entire experience. I got to engage with those metro cops as well, and I could see that a lot of the attitude in our police comes from an apartheid mentality. So it would be very harsh of me to be overly judgmental of them when I grew up with parents who were scared of white people. You know what I mean? And these traffic cops are no different. In this country, you know, authority has been seen as tantamount to whiteness or analogous with whiteness, you know? And that has a psychological effect on our law enforcement where they're more inclined to be more forceful, more brutal on people of color than they are on white offenders. And even while I was in the police station, there was a gentleman who was traveling at 128 kilometers per hour. He didn't even sit in the cell with us. A white man. Yes, I was at 127 kilometers per hour. And luckily for him, because he didn't even sit in the cell, by the time my lawyer came to see me, I heard what his speed was. And I told the police also, please also release me just like you're releasing him, because I was 1 kilometer per hour slower than him and I was overtaking. Yeah.
We're coming from a very tough week. It's been a very sad week. I've been concerned about you.
Yeah.
I've been concerned about AKA's family. May his soul rest in peace.
And
Keenan,
all his friends.
Thank you very much, my brother, for your contributions. Tibbs, thank you very much, my brother, for your contributions. Very sad one, unexpected to the whole country. A lot of people are passionate, people are angry. A lot of things happened on the internet. A lot of wrong things also happened on the internet. And maybe let me start with NOTA because I'm affiliated with you. A lot of people are angry at you due to the fact that, number one, you started calling out witnesses. Sorry, not witnesses. Suspects.
My suspects, yes.
Your suspects online, on social media with no proof. Cops have not arrested anybody yet. And you're naming people. You named some people. You named a soccer team. And at some point, I think you ended up even getting a legal
cease and
letter.
desist, yeah.
And I'm concerned. And at some point, I tried to get in touch with you during the week. I think I tried to calm you down at some point. I'm like, yes, we are all confused. We're all sad. But NOTA, this is not the way it should be handled. And when I'm saying that to you, other people are saying to me, Sbu, leave him alone, because we all know that the police in this country don't do their job. So leave it to the internet detectives. But what if the internet detectives are wrong?
So this is a very tragic situation. It's a very sad situation. Yeah. And the first thing I need to tell fans of AKA, the legacy, is that we need to let go and let God. What you are seeing from me is the exact example of a friend who's going through grief and trauma and finding it hard to accept the finality of a loss of life. I will never speak to Keenan again. I will never hear his voice again. You know, I might hear it in a song, but that's not the voice that I hear when I speak to him. Because Keenan, to me, is not just a guy. You know, Keenan, to me, is another me. He's my mirror. You know, he's my measuring stick. You know, when you've got a brother that you're competing against, and every time you grow an inch, your mother makes a mark on the door. And then you can see, when I was at this age, my brother was at this stage. And now I'm at this stage and I'm maybe behind or ahead of my brother. So Keenan was that for me and many other people. I think I had the longest conversation for me about this whole entire thing in general with DJ Feel himself. Because, you know, obviously he was one of the people that I named as saying, listen, these are the people that were supposed to protect and ensure the safety of Kiernan, when he's in Durban. When we travel, everywhere we travel, even now, I mean, if the Hustlers Corner is traveling around the country, we can't have eyes and ears in every single city or town. We trust the local people with our safety, and artists entrust local people with their safety, local promoters with their safety. I wasn't saying they were responsible for his killing, because I knew that there was CCTV footage that shows that they were not the shooters, they were not the killers, right?
But you can't be naming them suspects.
My suspects as to people who were involved in an orchestrated plan to leave him vulnerable to an attack purposefully. Now,
why would you think they did that purposefully?
Because that is Florida Road. I don't know how many times you've been on Florida Road, but I know that you've not been public drinking on Florida Road. We don't public drink. You don't even smoke a joint on Florida Road. You know, even if you're having fun, because the cops are there. Right opposite that restaurant
is a police station.
24/7. It was closed on the day Keenan was there. You know, the club that he was going to perform at, that club hasn't been open in a long time. And it seemed as though they were showing us that, listen, something is amiss here, and we have been forced to leave our brother vulnerable in some sort of way. And the only way to express that, right, so that the fans could themselves get more answers, because right now we're in the world of CCTV footage, we're in the world of immediate answers, we're in the world of social media. People will not stop asking questions. People will always have speculation, right? And while they're speculating, right, as we develop the story, people are picking up more and more information. People are understanding more and more about whose role is what. And all I was explaining were those roles. Like DJ Feel, he's a promoter from Durban. He organizes lots of gigs. We trust him. We love him. We know he wouldn't do anything to harm Keenan, unless there was a gun to his head to say, don't protect Keenan right now, you know? And Yanga is one of the closest friends I've had in this industry. We are very close. So you must understand that sometimes there's certain things I cannot say. But if I can say something about a close friend who is like a brother to me, who I can have a squabble with, and we can publicly tell people without telling people, because we can't tell people, you know, things that we cannot put in a police docket, or we can add as information, you know what I mean, in any investigation. We need to find creative ways to basically explain the story. And when Keenan's fiance, and traditionally Nesizulu, it would be his wife or wife-to-be, you know, passed away, I was the first friend to fly there. And you must understand, when I say friend to Keenan, other friends were friends and also worked with Keenan. I'm the friend who never ever earned a cent from Keenan. I'm a friend only. Keenan begged me to manage him many, many times. I knew that Keenan is such a cash cow. You can't manage an AKA because you'll have many enemies. He will cause jealousy. That's how successful he is. You understand what I'm saying? It's like having the hottest taxi route. Other taxi owners will want a share of that route or will want to eliminate you from that route. I never wanted to put myself in a position where, you know, there could be some competition with me from either a management perspective, from a coaching perspective, from an advice perspective. So I was his brother in that regard, and something that he always entrusted me with was always giving him a straight and honest answer.
And let me come in there before you continue. Some people picked up an interview, I think it was the last interview that it did, when he was speaking about you. He spoke about that incident of when whatever he had just gone through.
And I came to his family.
And he did
yes.
confirm that you did fly to Cape Town.
Yes, but he made a mistake.
Sorry,
he said
let
I
me
flew the next day.
Let me finish my question. He did confirm that you did fly to Cape Town. But how you portrayed it was like you flew in to take that information to either. Sorry, guys, I'm paraphrasing here. Go check out that interview. I don't remember who it was with. I don't know if it was
Sobering.
the Sobering podcast.
Yeah,
on the Sobering podcast. Go check it out. Some people have took a clip and it's all over social media where he's saying, actually, he sounded like he was disappointed at you. And it sounded as if he was saying out of the information and out of the misery that he was going through at the time, I think you used it negatively against him.
Yeah.
Why would you then say you were his friend and then he would say something like that publicly on a podcast and being disappointed at you and you're still saying that you were his friend?
So it doesn't matter what Keenan would say about me. The mere fact that he's speaking about me means that he's bringing light to my name. That's how big Keenan is. If he cares to mention you, it means he's bringing light to your name. Whether it's in a negative light or in a contrasting light. Keenan and I couldn't speak publicly anymore. Our phones were being bugged. Our phones were being tracked. They were trying to convict my friend of murder. The first thing I did when I flew back from Cape Town is that I told my wife, don't fly me to Durban to the funeral. I'm not going to the funeral. I even didn't call it a funeral. I said, I'm not going to the show because I knew that they were putting him out for display. The first thing I did when I got to Cape Town, right, is I spoke to Keenan. Keenan wasn't even at the house where they were staying in Camps Bay after they moved from the Paper Club Hotel where they were at. They were in a big house in Camps Bay, and his younger brother, Steph, let me in and said, Keenan is still busy with the cops. They're testing under his fingernails, they're doing the DNA, everything. He came at about 11 p.m. So that's why he misremembers whether I was there on the day or I was there the next morning, and we actually only properly spoke the next morning. When we woke up, I slept there. I was there with his mother. And it was a very difficult time because I needed to now tell his mother that, listen, everything that you're seeing right now, which seems like people are supporting you and are helpful, they're just doing that for the time being. They're trying to nail your son. That's what's happening. And she disbelieved it for day one. But by the second day, she started seeing that. Another friend of ours, close friend of ours, my own protector, myself, Rich Mahog, Jabu, Keenan's protector, like the guy who has our back. When people want to do stuff to us, Jabu has always protected us. You know what I mean? Politically, Jabu is the protector of my freedom of speech, so to speak. You know what I mean? And, he also tried to allay his own concerns and fears to Kianan's mother because, she lost her daughter-in-law in tragic circumstances. But, even prior to that, their relationship was strained between Anele and Kiernan's mom.
But why would you use confidential information that you would know about a friend against them? Because that's what verbally he said.
Yeah, that's what he said. But
interview.
The truth of the matter is that I never used any confidential information against him. Everything that was public, everything that I reflected on was public. But he was just bringing my name up. As I said, is that Kiernan and I had an agreement. We can't speak and we can't be seen together for the protection of ourselves and for my own protection. So that when it comes the time for me to protect his legacy, I can. There were two things that were going to happen to Kiernan. It's either he was going to be charged for murder and found guilty, and the only hope was that he could be acquitted on appeal, or that someone was going to exact revenge in hope of gaining favor with whoever it is that might be a sympathizer after the tragic loss of Anele. Anybody can do that. Anybody is a fan of DJ Sbu. And DJ Sbu needs to be careful on how he controls his public appearance so that his fans don't act in violent manners against maybe people who are criticizing him or his opponents, trying to gain your favor. Sometimes there's a guy who will come to you, Sbuda, they're out there just to gain your favor. But now this person has enacted violence on someone which you did not incite, which you did not ask for, which you did not invite. And that was the danger that Keenan was under. Whether or not someone would have ordered a hit on him, someone who's a sympathizer because of a narrative that is, number one, untruthful, because any suggestion that my friend has any intent or the ability to take someone's life is something I reject with extreme contempt. You know, just the suggestion of it is something I reject with extreme contempt. But I understand if someone lost a daughter and they left their daughter in your care, which is the words that I used when I described what had happened to Kiernan the first time I spoke about it publicly, as the first person to speak about it publicly, when I went on Podcast and Chill with MacG.
Before you continue, the very same example that you're making about Sbu and my supporters who might just go crazy, whatever, you did the same mistake because you went on air knowing very well that AKA is a big star, and you even went on as far as even calling some people kafirs. They killed him. And then you even spoke about, what if people now can't even come to Joburg anymore? Somebody else can say NOTA was actually even inciting a provincial war.
Yeah. No, the war is already there. And the K word is not used for blacks. That's the thing, that we need to disassociate apartheid with the meaning of words. That word is to describe non-believers, people who believe in paganism and people who do worships of idols.
In what context
Idolatry.
did you mean it?
Kafir is an Arabic word, and Arabic is the most spoken language on the African continent. So if you understand that,
No. It's Swahili that is the most spoken African language on the continent.
On the African continent is Arabic. It's number one spoken language.
No. Fact checkers, let's
seriously,
go.
the most spoken black language or African
to be
language.
Swahili.
No.
Let's fact
The most
check
spoken language in Africa is Arabic. The most spoken African language is Swahili.
Okay, let's fact check it.
Yeah, you can fact check it.
Okay, hold on. What is the most spoken language in Africa? The answer says Swahili. The most widely spoken languages of Africa: Swahili 200 million, Yoruba 45 million, Igbo 30 million, and Fula 35 million. All belong to the Niger-Congo family. You can learn more about it online. But 10 most popular, okay, it says African here. But yeah,
Africa,
the top result, the first result that comes out when you say, what is the most spoken language in Africa? It says Swahili. Swahili comes up first. But anyway, let's continue. They'll do their own check.
But okay, cool. Look, let's fact check whether it's African language or languages spoken in Africa. Because there's also French that's spoken in Africa. There's also English that's spoken in Africa.
I think that's a topic for another day. But I want to know also how you, in what or in which context did you say that kafir name?
It's the devil worship of idolatry, of taking blood from people.
But why would you say these kafirs killed him?
Now,
you guys at some point, you probably won't even have to come to Joburg. It was as if you were inciting Joburg people to sort of fight against Durban people. I understand you're passionate, we're all angry, we're all
that's
confused.
My thing. Is that two parts?
But such an intelligent person like you to go online and record videos and say such content, NOTA.
Yes, we need to be honest. The truth of the matter is that us as black Africans, we have left out the colored community. We have, and that is the truth of the matter.
But
and
colored community is black. They're also black people. Well, the government doesn't classify them as blacks because of our history.
You understand what I'm saying?
But we all know that they're black people.
Yes, but they have an identity of their own and a history that is also painful, that also includes, other people of other races, that might not be a savory history, especially for us. Why? Because when you look at a colored person, you look at the failure of African men to protect their most vulnerable, which is African women, from the rape, and the pillaging that happened. It didn't just happen to our land, it happened to our people as well. And that is the colored community is a result of that rape that happened to African women. It is a result of that rape that happened to Indonesian, Malaysian women, or women from, the subcontinent or India or Sri Lanka who were brought to the Cape as slaves. You know what I mean? That is a history we need to confront aggressively right now, because the anger that is building up, that is not being allowed an outlet, is reaching a boiling point. And when you can have someone, Kiernan, who has been prominent in South African music for 19 years as a colored artist. I made one mistake. I read a false tweet once, and I called Kiernan, and I said, damn it, check for me, but I think Jonathan Butler has passed away. I called him back 5 minutes later to say, no, I just checked, someone was playing a prank. Do you know what he said? NOTA? I call my dad. Now, Kiernan is bigger than Ernie Smith. Kiernan is bigger than Vicky Sampson. Kiernan is bigger than Jonathan Butler even was at his height. And as a colored artist, he is the biggest thing we've ever seen. Number one, as an artist, to have a run on the charts for so long, for so consistent, 19 years, since 2004, this is 2003. And obviously this album is going to he's going to have a good, clean 2 decades. 20 years full, where he's at the height, at the pinnacle of South African music. When they dropped their first debut album in 2004, I went and made a guest appearance on the Sobering podcast, my first guest appearance. And I spoke about how, even though, the head of Universal, when at the time he was involved in whatever Samro scandals, whatever those scandals were, I also had to look at what role this person had played. He was the manager of Deluxe. If you guys don't know what Deluxe, Buddha will tell you. Olilo, Deluxe, that's Magesh.
Mandla Speaker, no, Deluxe was Mandla Speaker.
Sorry, Mandla Speaker.
And Mr. Lindelani Mkhize.
And then he was also a member, what's the group that formed before,
Group which was formed before what?
TKZ. It was between Duma Silela and Magesh.
Oh, you mean Mashamplan?
That's it.
Okay, sure. Mashamplan.
Why would I think Deluxe first before Mashamplan would roll off my time?
No,
but anyway,
Deluxe was before Mashamplan.
And then Mashamplan
was
came
before
after.
TKZ.
Yes.
And TKZ was before their solo careers. Sure.
You understand what I'm saying? So that is the lineage of it. Sometimes you mix up these names. They've got M's, Abo Mandla, Abo, you know what I mean? All of them.
Yeah,
All of them have M's. All of them have M's.
And I actually bumped into Grootman Umdu at AKA's memorial. Great seeing you, Grootman, and thank you for coming through and paying your last respects to Keenan. Sorry, continue.
They didn't even have the opportunity to have 20-year careers. Keenan did. And he did it excellently and always pushing, always pushing beyond. There's an interview that Slicker did where he said that after Keenan released, he retired. And that is true. It's a fact. We released Tubula with a Kabelo at the same time as Keenan dropped Victory Lap. And after Victory Lap shot to the top of the charts and Tubula didn't even make a blip.
No, that's not true. Victory Lap, when it came out, Tubula had long come. Let me see.
No, it came out a week after each other. Trust me, I was even tweeting on the Slicker account.
No, when Victory Lap came out.
DJ Slee Live will be the one that will corroborate the story.
Okay, it's fine. We'll check that out.
Trust me. No, trust me. I know the release dates. I was the one who was doing the releases. I was doing the social media marketing, the entire plan. Travis Davis did the artwork where he made Slicker and Booga Love look like police officers. You know what I mean? So Slicker was competing against Kiernan, and Slicker made the mistake of saying, this guy will never have mass appeal because he's colored. What he didn't know was that this guy had learned the essence of this country better than almost anyone else has. Better than almost anybody else has. And you could hear it in the music. He was much more politically astute than artists before his time and artists that we expect to come after his time. You understand? He saw far ahead. He loved his country. I'ma die here in the motherland. The effect,
the context,
the context, everything,
and the videos. Then you're gonna follow up with the videos.
After everything that this person has done to humanize the colored experience, he also never showed anti-blackness. In fact, he embraced his blackness. And he was like, yo, coloreds are blacks. I don't see myself as a colored, I see myself as a black person. You know, although I do have a colored identity, and we know what our colored identity is. And sometimes we need to stop rejecting identities that are contemporary in favor of traditional identities, because times do move, our cultures do change. Sometimes before there was the Zulu culture, there were just Nguni tribes that were named after their clan names, them Tetwas, all these different clan names before they were unified. And when we look at
Bantu, and then Nguni, and then from Nguni to then Xhosa,
if you read
Swati, Ndebele.
If you read the literature, you'll know that our cultures have consolidated over the times. Our cultures have broken apart, disseminated, had foreign influences, become creolized, all of those things have happened. Like a Creole language is Afrikaans. It's a black language, It's a Creole language. It was made for the workers to be able to communicate with one another and also be able to communicate with their Dutch masters, so the predominantly Dutch masters at that time. And that has developed over time, and then it only became established as a language in 1875 when a white teacher decided that he was going to write literature in a language that was now called Afrikaans, taken from its original name, which is Afrikaans, which was an amalgamation of languages spoken in the Cape amongst all the various communities that had gathered there in the colony. While it was under Dutch settlement and even beyond that under British rule, colonial rule. So what Kiernan represented in the loss of his life was the death of the humanity of our nation. And all of us literally became non-believers. All of us literally became kafir in that instance when his life was tragically taken from us so brazenly, because people knew that there's nothing that we can do about it. I can rant as much, even with my rant, the police have not named any suspects. They have CTC footage. It's a week later. We have not seen an identikit being paraded or anything else. It's as if there's no investigation going on. I have a friend who lives in the apartment building right above the building where she stays. Where he lost his life, or right above the restaurant.
Above the Wish restaurant.
Yeah. She was there at 7 a.m. She was there watching it at night. No investigations were done. When we watch the videos of Nkabis on SABC1, you see people with hazmat suits with gloves on. We didn't see any pictures of that. We didn't see a lineup. We saw his body laying there. They used his body as the lineup. They didn't even line it up with chalk and remove him from there so they could take pictures. So it was showing that we can take this life and there's nothing you can do about it. And the only reason they could do that, and the reason why I was so angry, and I'm so angry, unfortunately, Das Buddha, you come from Tembisa. And where you come from, you had to work your way up. Some of us come from politically affiliated families, myself included, even though more distantly than others. I come from a politically protected family. And from the politically protected families and their kids, Abu Simdope, who I was with in primary school, he was my senior.
Spoke very well, by the way, at the memorial. Shout out to Simza.
Simdope got that scar on his mouth while climbing a tree with me. I was climbing a tree with him, and he climbed higher than me, and he fell off the tree at Radford House, a boutique private school. We were taught that lateral thinking, the Edward de Bono. I was in primary school. Before Kiernan ever met Simdope, I was in primary school with Simdope. He fell out of that tree and onto a concrete block, which had steel reinforcement bars, which went through his mouth and then out his cheek. And they had to saw it off. Not one tear dropped down Simdope's eyes. I watched him the entire time. They removed that steel rod from him, right? They removed him from the concrete that it was attached to after sawing it off with the vibrations of the saw. He did not cry. And he said, "Big boys don't cry." And then he went off to go and get his stitches. And then after second break, he was back at school. That's Simdope. Now, Simdope had a soccer team at 16. Simdope did all the dog. Today we talk about Abu Andi Lempisane. in their 20s, being chairmen of soccer. Sim Dope was doing that while he was still in high school in Mpumalanga. You know, he was one of those privileged kids whose father had worked so hard to reach the upper echelons of business as one of the first black people, you know, to reach those levels. I mean, he's an owner of the Lions as the first black owner of a rugby team. You understand? That's his father. And he was still the most humble person, the most humble human being. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why Kiernan had to honor him. You know, he had slight dyslexia, couldn't keep up with the pace. So I'd hook him up with crib notes. Back in college, you know, he couldn't keep up with the tempo. So I had to hook him up with crib notes. So educationally, or maybe let's say intellectually, as far as learning in the format, school wasn't really formatted for him. He was a guy who could figure things out. He was a guy who could figure people out. He was a guy who could make people all feel at ease, you know, feel like you were also as rich as him. You know what I mean? You'd never feel broke around Sim Dope, and he'd never floss on you. But I mean, Sim Dope's dad had the first Chrysler Grand Voyager. There was a Chrysler that came, there was a PT Cruiser that became famous, and then he came with the Grand Voyager, and the kids came out, you know, and the doors opened up.
To give
and the white people were like, what car is this?
To give a perspective to international viewers, Sim Dope's family booked Rick Ross to come perform
for a private party.
Not in the metropolitan part of South Africa, which they would say, which would be Johannesburg. Would go to their hometown where they come from in Nelspruit, and they got the entire community to come watch Rick Ross Mahala for free.
Like 55,000 people.
That was dope. That was dope.
That was Sim Dope's dad. And Sim Dope, you know, it's initiative as well. That's Sim Dope's initiative. And so, I mean, you listen to songs like Sim Dope. It's one of my favorite AKA songs because it talks about the story of my father.
At the memorial service, Sim Dope did explain how it came about, and he says Keenan did pull up in Rosebank. I think they met up there, and he mentioned these words. He says, AKA came to him and he said, I just immortalized you, bro. I've just put your name on a song, and it's going to be a big song.
And imagine knowing Sim Dope from primary school, and then knowing that how he ended up going to high school with Kiernan, and Kiernan had this relationship with him. So the first time I listened to that song, I listened to it with those ears. And that's the guy who told me, big boys, don't cry.
Don't cry.
So you didn't see me crying on the timeline, but I was expressing anger, emotion, anger of a loss of a rivalry that has made me who I am.
Before we continue, do you admit that some of your rants or the way you spoke or your actions over the past week were uncalled, let me not say uncalled for, because
yes,
obviously
they were erratic and manic. And that's why my family signed all papers to put me, you know, under involuntary admission.
Is it?
Yes.
This is after your
everything, yes. Yes. So while I was speaking to...
Because a lot of people were worried about you.
I know.
People were calling me.
So
imagine like, with him.
Imagine what happened with my family. You know what I mean? With my parents, you know? So then they decided, which okay, so I'm telephone. You understand? I laugh about it now because I'm through it, but I mean, it wasn't very funny when it happened. So when it happened, right, my sister is coming to see me. I'm meeting up with Mtogo, who's like a Durban businessman who has billboards all over he's got billboards outside Orlando Stadium. I don't know if you saw the last ANC campaign, but those billboards outside the Orlando Stadium, that's some Togo's billboards. He's got a billboard on William Nicol. One of those billboards is right next to the garage where I buy coffee every single morning. And I sat with Mtogo after Keenan's passing at Pantry at Dainfin Square, and he said, bro, I've got 2 weeks of no client on that billboard there outside Caltex. Let's do something for Kiernan. So we were going there, we were going to look at the billboard. We're right there on William Nicol in the street, you know, looking at the billboard, you know, my sister saying, yo, I'm coming to see you. I'm just concerned about you. I want to talk to you and everything else. While we're standing in the street, my sister pulls up because I told her that we're there. And she closes the window while I approach her, and I'm like, how? And then another car pulls up, and then guys in camo and guns and everything come out and say, listen, we're concerned about your safety. you're not the only person that we've come to, but we're taking some of Kiernan's friends who are having a hard time dealing with letting him go right now. Trust me, we're taking you to a safe place. So guys with guns, my sister, I trust. So I'm hoping she's not going to leave me in the hands of people who are going to take me somewhere to have my head chopped off or something like that. But the last thing I could do, you know what, after I realized that, you know what, maybe let me not even question what's happening, right? Because this is my sister, this is my older sister, and she will always have my best interest at heart. And I sat in the back seat. I asked them to open the window, and I screamed at my sister, "Kiss me." Because in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? If this is the last time I ever see my sister, at least let me kiss her.
Were you scared?
Terrified. And they reassured me. The guys spoke to me. They told me about a band that they used to do security for called Rubber Duck. And Rubber Duck's engineer ended up leaving Rubber Duck to become Kiernan's engineer, Tabiso. And I met him while he was Rubber Duck's engineer. And I asked him, how do you always get this Rubber Duck sound to sound so full? And he says, no, we pre-record and sequence the horns. So then I realized that, oh, damn it, when I'm pre-recording for the Questa band, right, I need to have the band sequence an entire horn section. And that's why when you listen to Questa playing live on stage, it sounds like he's got an entire brass band and sounds so full. It sounds fuller than the CD. The live performance sounds like you're at a stadium each and every single time. It's because we pre-recorded and sequenced, and we got that from Tabiso, who was Rubber Duck's engineer and ended up becoming Kiernan's engineer. And this is how you see how we competed, but we shared information. We gave each other tidbits. We gave each other, insider trading secrets and how to stay ahead. Kiernan,
Backseat?
I'm in the back seat. I'm going back. I
just don't want you to lose your train of thought.
I'm not losing my train of thought because I'm speaking about these guys. They're telling me about the story of Rubber Duck. So Kiernan as well, when it came beyond, the pop groups and everything else, he was one of the rap acts that was crossover across all audiences. And that was also something I tried to do for Questa, who is a K1 guy, but who can speak English like Ingabla. You understand? Fortunately for him, he's got the twang as well. He's got the Model C accent, and yes, he's still the most gassy guy you'll ever hear, on a mic. And
Backseat.
I'm sitting there with these people and thinking, oh my goodness, these people have also been working with people who are part of this. They're telling me that, listen, where we're going, we're taking you, and people are in a worse condition than you are. So just brace yourself for that. Trust me. And then we drive N14, after we get from 4 ways out of Lanseria, and then I can see, okay, fine, on the Krugersdorp Road, we turn left as if we're going to Reimsig, and then right there, I think it's Stonehaven or something.
Or next to Bears Nodia, no?
No, it's on N14, all the way by Cruise. Yeah, it's on Bears Nodia, but I don't know what it becomes.
On your way to what is that casino by Krugersdorp?
Yes, the Silver Star.
Silver Star Casino.
Yeah, but
around
before,
that area, right?
yeah, but before,
Okay.
well before that.
Okay.
So Reimsig side,
Reimsig
around,
side.
yeah,
Not far from
Amakasgabo, Tira.
Eagle Canyon, Bears Nodia side.
Yeah, you understand? So when we get in, I see, okay, this is life, so clean. Okay, it's a hospital. Okay, and then they put me in the involuntary section, and they said, okay, fine, we're going to check you in. The nurses saw me, and they say you're going to see a doctor tomorrow.
Isibhedlela samahlanje or isibhedlela?
It was a rehab center.
Sorry guys, I asked it in the most gassy way. I don't know if I'm sounding politically incorrect. I don't want to get into trouble.
All I'm saying is that while I was there, the Afrikaner psychiatrist, and apologies to him because obviously they weren't taught to be sensitive to, certain racial biases. He had the nerve to say, I'm lucky that I'm in this place because I've got medical aid. No, I'm not lucky because I've got medical aid. I pay for medical aid. I afford medical aid. I worked hard to afford medical aid, even though his ancestors tried to make sure that everybody with my skin color cannot afford medical aid. So I was not taken to Sterkfontein. I was taken to a place that's like a resort.
Oh, okay.
Not a resort, but I was in the involuntary admission side, which is like a jail.
Isibhedlela samahlanje mara that's private school.
Yeah, private. Imbede mfana, kunama library, i-Wi-Fi is super fast. Super fast. Yonke into mfana nje,
Now you can say your rent's quicker. Sorry, it's just the joke.
Bayayithatha ifoni yakho.
Continue.
Bayayithatha ifoni yakho.
Okay.
I-Wi-Fi yamanes. Yeah, and badlala ngayo phambi kwakho. And it's super fast. Yo. Yahalisa yo. Ngathi ungayi grips ifoni yakho da.
It is some more suspects.
Download wonke ama-podcast. Download wonke ama-episode we-Hustlers Corner from start to finish. Mfana, download wonke fast. Mfana, before bakutosha da. Mfana, I think medical aid charge at 3,000 rand per night. So I had 3 meals a day. And the first night, they put me on a mood stabilizer. I've got it saved here, sorry. And the name is it's.
How long were you there for?
I was there for 96 hours.
Okay, so this
so
is the
legally,
first, so pretty much 3 days.
Legally,
so this is the first night.
4 days.
Okay.
So legally, they're allowed to keep you there for 72 hours for observation before you can, if they don't find anything wrong with you or any real reason that you might be a danger to yourself, to extend your stay. So my family all went there. I was in a cell the first night where there's a gap underneath the door. It's a steel door. Nothing like a real thick, like I was in jail. And I was just relaxed because I was like, my sister brought me here, and if I act crazy, they're going to treat me like I'm crazy. And they sedated me. So I said, Fana, just try and figure out the situation, but just stay calm, Fana. Lalela yongi dabai shoy. So they put me under these things, and then the first night I could feel that, no, man, this pill that they're giving me is really taking me out. It's called olanzapine. Olanzapine is used to treat symptoms of schizophrenia, a mental illness that causes disturbed or unusual thinking, loss of interest in life, and strong, inappropriate emotions.
Kanye West.
Bangshaye La La Land. Yes, Zombie Land. I was in Zombie Land. Mangvuga from Zombie Land, I tell my nurses. And Tuesday.
Okay. I'm a rent a weekend. Okay.
So Tuesday, mangvuga ngiti no nurse. Dog, no. That ain't izongsikisa. No, please, as a brief. Would you believe that every single nurse is a fan of the Hustlers Corner?
Are you serious? Asiyabong.
So the nurse then put me on placebos, just sugar tablets. After those sugar tablets, I was just calm. I was eating 3 meals a day. I was having enough water. I was having enough sunlight because going out into the sunlight and air, and you know what I mean?
Didn't you miss your phone?
No, I did not. It was bringing me stress. I had no stress. You understand? While I was in that, I was like, I found out when someone else got admitted that, listen, you've been section 33'd and these are your rights. They can release you after. So I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I've been here for 24 hours now. So it means I got 48 hours left before I can apply for a voluntary release, you know what I mean? Or discharge, you know? So I was like, okay, let me stay calm. This is a break that I needed, dog. I needed to be away from my phone. You know what I mean? I needed to be away from everything. I need to be away from the news. I need to be away from the video clips of my friend getting his brains blown out. It's traumatic. And I'm sorry for the way I reacted. Like I am, like honestly, I am truly sorry.
Tell them.
No, like seriously, like to a lot of the people that have been following my page, you know, I am sorry for the choice words that I used voluntarily because I really wanted the hurt and the pain that I was feeling to be reciprocated by the people that were watching these. I felt like people weren't hurt enough, and that made me angry because you don't know what this guy means to the country because we haven't honored him enough. And it felt like we haven't been allowed to honor him enough. And I don't know how many interviews I've done with you where I've spoken about Keenan.
Actually, even the previous episode, we spoke about Keenan not knowing that he's passing away the following day.
Every single time I get the opportunity, I always honor him. Every single time, I always say, everything that you have seen me succeed in is because of that man. And that's the truth, that's the fact of the matter. I started in high school because he had an album with his friends called the Royal School of Hip Hop. And then I knew that with the rest of my friends, right, we could also make it in hip hop. I mean, we're at a gallery here. We were invited by a great friend who I've also known since she was, I think, finishing primary school and in high school. And all of us as a group of friends, my group of friends, Elijah, you know, my first business partner at Sofet Urbentainment, which is now Urbentainment only. And he's doing other business things and we're still very close. T1, Tumi, Sizwe, who's married to one of the daughters of Asylum, so one of the group members of Amaponi. And
Oh, you know Sizwe?
Yes.
That's my guy. He used to shoot.
He was our first.
Sizwe shot the Remember When It Rained music video.
And he also was our first manager when we were in high school as a group of teens. You understand? And T1, his mother, is also business partners with Basitsana Kumalo at Connect TV, which is one of the companies that owns Tswelopele and also one of the companies that owns shares in Publicis Group, and they're also on the board of Publicis Group.
A lot of people always ask me who produced the remix beat for the Remember When It Rained was Stethoscope. I sometimes do forget about him. It's very important to give him his credit. Stethoscope. Shout out for that classic, bro.
You know what I mean?
Pity we never got paid for it, but thank you for the incredible work. Yeah.
No, but East Rand, he also put on a proverb, attention after attention, like he was one of the main producers.
Yeah.
Because after attention, proverb then became a name because he had such a hot press.
Proverb introduced me to him.
Oh, good.
I didn't know him.
Yeah, because then
we're still at YFM together.
When he did, I think the Book of Proverbs was his debut, right?
Yeah, and then Stetho introduced me to Sluda. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, exactly. That's another guy I also worked with, DJ Sluda, who's also been in the hip hop culture for a long, long time. All these people are part of a continuum, that basically pulled down the fulcrum that raised SA hip hop to global heights. Keenan was the heaviest weight on that fulcrum, raising SA hip hop to global heights. To the point where I went to Los Angeles to accompany Shoma Josie, and Justice is behind the camera. There's a shirt that's behind him that he's gonna throw to me right now, which I was wearing, which is Tsonga print, which I had specially made for accompanying Shoma Josie. Just throw it.
This is beautiful, bro.
Yeah, my wife picked this out and had it designed for me, especially to go with Shoma Josie and make sure that I also represent our Shitsonga culture while I'm there. And everywhere I went while I was in LA, I was AKA. I was Sim Dope. You know what I mean? As if AKA wasn't there and I was coming back as Sim Dope. And I ended up sitting at the same table as Jamie Foxx.
Amunye umuntu sometimes nakabukela ngathi awunothi yawathanda manga too much.
Yeah, and I said with a straight face, mfana. Ukinen, bengihleli as Ukinen.
Sometimes there's a clip where I'm like, Nota, you are lying.
Yeah.
People actually get mad at me. They're like, me again. Simthanda nja.
No, serious, like, I'm not lying, dog.
I know, I understand.
And Ukinen is like, Nota, you love this networking stuff. Go network, man. Do some networking, dog. You're in LA now. Come, go to all the events I'm supposed to go to. And that's how I met Sylvia Rohn, who ended up giving Shoma Josie her international deal. The deals that Abo Kiernan turned down because he said, I'm going to die here in the motherland. He said, I've done so much work to become super mega, right? Now people must stand on my shoulders to become global super megas from Africa. But I need to show them that starting right here at home is the most important part. And that's, that's part of this 19 years that he's built up.
Before we continue, then you get served with legal papers.
While I'm inside, by my doctors, by
were
my
you still
psychiatrist.
inside?
Yes.
Why would you accuse a soccer club
So
as one of your suspects?
it wasn't even about the soccer club. It was about Kiernan's fiance's funeral and the way in which he was treated, the way in which harsh words were spoken, and the way in which any suggestion that his fiancée might have taken her life was completely dismissed and made to seem as if it's a fabrication, a lie, or a cover-up to insinuate that there might be some culpability on his part.
But you understand that I'm a father to a baby girl. My daughter is 10 years old now.
I understand
As much
it.
as you cared about Keenan, but did you understand at that time?
Yes, at that time, yes.
Yeah, Uguti,
This
a
is 2 years
father
later.
And a family had actually just lost their
And
daughter.
what did I say at that time? I said exactly that. And I said, Kiernan will pay for this for the rest of his life. And I said that he's completely defeated. And that's exactly what he was. And you might feel like that's personal, private information. But if someone asks me, how is Sbuda after losing his wife, or his fiance, I'll be honest with that answer. If he's not coping and he needs prayers and thoughts, I'll be honest, just in the same way Kiernan always said that, you know what, about NOTA, you might not like what he says, but he'll keep it straight. And that's exactly who Kiernan was. And if you listen to Nevo's speech at his memorial, they literally had to bring him back from complete and utter self-destruction. The mere fact that he was even capable of putting together an album. And people think that putting together an AKA album is easy. No, it's not easy, because you have to beat the best albums ever made.
Number one, you also have to clear all those samples. And not everybody's in
Kiernan
hurry as
can.
you are. Like
No, but
sometimes they
Kiernan
might
can.
come back to you 2 months later.
Kiernan can. That's how big he was. People would gladly be sampled by him. Kanye West is at that level. People would gladly be sampled by him. Daft Punk rejects every sample, except for Kiernan around the world. And Kanye West, stronger.
And to give you an idea for the people who are not in the music industry, P. Diddy, on the I'll Be Missing You song, when Notorious B.I.G. died, that song became big. We were still young, we were kids at the time. He sampled Sting.
We spoke about last week.
We spoke about it on last week's episode.
We said that he sold out Sun Arena without posting his location.
Yeah. I wanted to say to people, just to give you an idea, till today, for the rest of his life, P. Diddy pays Sting about $3,000 every month for the rest of his life, P. Diddy.
And plus the percentage that Sting got, and what about the percentage that he
I'm
got?
not even just talking publishing, just for clearing that song. And go check out some of the interviews online. Just Google them.
On top
Sting
of that-
says it verbally himself.
On top of that, there's the Juice WRLD song, which he has, I think, over 84% of the publishing on. Juice WRLD's biggest hit as well. So, it's not just I'll Be Missing You or the police.
Back to the legal papers.
So I'm served with the legal papers to cease and desist. Now I've been sedated. Now I've been medicated. I've seen psychiatrists. I've calmed down. I've been off my phone. I've been off the emotions, because I was woken up to Kiernan's passing. My friend, my business partner, my childhood best friend who shares a birthday with Kiernan, 28th of January, texted me at 7 p.m. that day, said, let's go to Rockets. I didn't even reply. I just slept. I was woken up at 2 a.m. by people saying, Fana, why ungaka tweet, Fana? And I said, why? He said, dog, AKA. And I said, what about AKA? I said, he's dead.
Is that how they delivered the news to you?
Ngo 2 a.m. But Mfana,
Phone
why
call.
ungaka tweet?
Phone call or
I was just, in fact, ifone beyikhala, since ikhala. And yangivusa ngithi, no man. Ubani lo ngo-2, Mfana? Like, ithi ngimthuke lo muntu.
Sabagayile phone yakho trek.
No, this is before. This is on the Friday, on the Saturday morning.
Oh,
when I
okay,
found out
when
the
you're
news,
finding
I'm talking
out.
about how I found out.
Okay.
You understand? Like, Yankwatisa, you're calling me at 2 a.m., you're interrupting my early night. I was supposed to go with my friends to Rockets. I skipped that. I said, let me sleep. Early night. Let me not engage in any Friday night activities. I just didn't feel the night. I didn't feel it. I wanted to sleep early that night. I was in bed by 8 p.m. And the way it was delivered, because this person was also angry. Like, he was angry at me. Like, dog, you're not saying anything, Mfana. Umngani wakho, Mfana. You understand what I'm saying? And even though in his past years, as much as I had to distance myself from Kiernan, for my own safety and for the protection of my freedom of speech and the better advice of our mutual friends, saying, bro, you need to be able to say what you need to say. And if they feel like you are defending or covering for Kiernan, they're going to shut out your voice. They're going to say you're biased.
But aren't you biased now?
I am. I've always been. But at the point where he needed me to defend him, I had to be completely impartial. I had to be biased against him so that I could be viewed as impartial. So that if ever the need arose for me to defend his legacy, I'd still have the reputation that is intact to do so.
Now, for those who don't know, the legal letters that you were served, I think it says, on the 12th of February 2023, this is what's written on what you posted. You posted this, it says 3 days ago here. On the 12th of February 2023, I posted certain messages on my La Vida Nota Instagram account. In the Instagram messages, I alleged and insinuated that AmaZulu Football Club, its president, Mr. Sandule Zungu, whom some of you guys who are in the business fraternity like us, we would know him to be a business giant. He's a role model to a lot of us. And then it continues to say, President Mr. Sandule Zungu, as well as persons and entities related to them as suspects in the case relating to the killing of well-known musician Kiernan Forbes. By the way, they did say at a memorial that it's not Keenan, it's actually Kiernan.
Yeah.
Mr. Forbes in brackets, close brackets, and that they are associated with persons who were involved in plotting the killing of Forbes. In the Instagram messages, I also alleged that Mr. Sandile Zungu threatened the lives of Forbes and his friends. Sure. You said all these things, Nota, but anyway, there was no valid basis for me to attempt to link AmaZulu Football Club, Mr. Sandile Zungu, as well as entities and persons associated to them to the unfortunate killing of Mr. Forbes. Furthermore, the allegation that Mr. Sandile Zungu threatened the lives of Mr. Forbes and his friends was false. I hereby retract the Instagram messages and unreservedly apologize to AmaZulu Football Club, Mr. Andile Zungu, and the persons and entities, Mr. Sandile Zungu, and entities related to them for the harm caused by the Instagram messages. And then it continues to say here at the bottom, should you not comply with the demands set out above by close of business on Wednesday, the 15th of February 2023, our clients will have no option but to exercise their rights at law, which may, but are not limited to launching urgent interdict proceedings. Notice is hereby given that should our client be forced to launch an application against you, our client will seek a punitive cost order against you. We await your urgent response. Be advised that in the interim, all the rights of our clients remain reserved. Yours faithfully. It's signed by Jerome Levitz from Fluxmans Incorporated. You posted this 3 days ago, as it says on your Instagram.
15th.
And then you only say their apologies. My prime suspect is now the minister. Oh, no, you did not say is now. You say my prime suspect, the minister of police. And then you go on to the next post to post Minister Begicele. Before we move on to Minister Begicele.
But slide that post to where, what else is there? Slide
Oh, okay.
across.
Then it's the billboards. When I slide it, it's when they were putting up the billboards. I think the billboards
It's
you're
the
talking
videos,
about earlier.
yes. So
it's the videos of
so
the
the guy who
billboards.
put up the billboard ended up not being able to go where I directed him afterwards. But luckily, the day before, I actually took SABC's news cameras to Kiernan's home. I think someone was preventing them from knowing the address. So the SABC journalists who know me, because I've been working in the industry for so long, I actually took them to Kiernan's home, gave them the address, and that's where they were able to interview Fikile Mbalula, who gave such a moving tribute to Kiernan and really spoke really highly of his contribution to this country. Also our Gauteng Premier, Mr. Panyazo Lusufu, who's also been a guest on the Hustlers Corner before, also then spoke in honor of Kiernan on behalf of the province, and that was covered on the national broadcaster, which wouldn't have been the case for some reason where the editor had ensured that the journalist assigned to the case did not know the details. I brought Mtogo there as well so that he'd know where to go, you know, if ever he needed something from the family. But because Kiernan's parents weren't there, or his dad wasn't there, I didn't go to the house at the point where his dad wasn't there yet, while they were still in Durban. So this was on the Monday, and I was planning to go during the week. But on that Monday, we were going to go to Nate Thomas, director Nate Thomas, his apartment, you know, because he's directed the latest of AKA's videos, you know, and was about to also work on the latest video, which is a collaboration with Billboard chart-topping international producing superstar from Nigeria, who's also part South African and has a half South African, half Nigerian baby as well, Kidominant.
Shout outs to KDDO.
You understand?
That's a dope tune, by the way. Company is dope. Go check it out, guys.
Yeah, and Under the Influence obviously stayed on the Billboard chart for I don't know how long.
And while we're still
That's
at
Chris
it,
Brown.
AKA's album is dropping this coming Friday. Make sure you pre-order it on your Apple iTunes. Or Apple Music, right?
Yeah, everything. You buy it on iTunes because buying gives the artist more money, and then when you stream it, you know that you've already given them, at least 70% of your purchase price to the distributor, as well as whatever accrues from the constant streaming of the album as a bonus. So that's the real support. Purchase it so that it stays in your library. It doesn't go anywhere, and that you own the license to play it anytime and anywhere you want on different devices that you own.
Back to the topic.
The topic is that
No, I was still asking
telling
about
him,
this,
this letter.
this legal letter.
So I put that legal letter after my psychiatrist handed it to me. It was delivered by hand to my parents' house, amongst other legal letters that also came in. I think there were 4 or something in total. I don't know. I haven't checked my mother's WhatsApps, but she sent me like 5 different legal letters as WhatsApps. With crying faces. Unfortunately, like it is also stressful for her because I'm in a facility where they're checking on my mental health and my ability to, to be, cognitively aware in situations while I'm under stress. And the fact that, dude, I've been grieving since 2020 started. If you look at my Twitter profile while it was still up, the guy there is Peko. Peko was a guy I personally had poached. I personally asked Paul Thackeray, who was marketing manager at Sony when we signed our deal as Urbantainment there. And also when 5th Season and 5th A signed their initial deal for AKA there, after finding iFunny there, who was brought there by Dream Team, and Refilo Ramokasi, who also co-manages Kulichana, as well as still manages the TKZ band. And
former partner to Khauza.
Yeah.
Khauza, an advertising mogul.
Yeah. So
They used to do Analog Night,
Yeah,
remember?
and
They
he's-
also used to manage TKZ.
Yeah, and he's also former general manager at Universal, and now obviously full-time at his own Ramokhasi Productions company. And we've done lots of deals. I mean, like, he's given us lots of deals. I mean, he gave us a couple 100,000 rands collaboration on stage with Mdu, where Questa performed with Mdu, and I finally got Mdu to accept OK Malum Cool Cat's apology for doing a bootleg of my bank book without asking for prior approval, because we were going to rehearse together, and OK Malum Cool Cat was going to make his big comeback performance after his Australian, admission of guilt under duress. And
Shout out to Grootman Du. As I did mention earlier, we bumped into each other at the memorial. I still want him on the Hustlers Corner. People have been asking for him. Always looked up to him. And I still feel he owes us at least one more Kwaito album. At least one more. Grootman, we know you're in business now, but just one more album. Let's back to this.
So I was basically directing people back to the funeral service where Kiernan was laid out like a lamb to the slaughter, and Kiernan's family are a working class family. And I started this on speaking about Sim Dope and how that song story resonated with my own story, because I grew up in the North, but my parents sacrificed everything to have us in the North and have us go to good schools. And that's all they could afford. Other than that, they were living in poverty amongst the richest people in the country. Same as Kiernan's parents. They tried everything. They got their sons through, one of the best schools to ever take your children to. I mean, St. John's produced AKA. St. Cynthians produced TKZ. What's the other one? Sacred Heart College produced about, is it Tibbs? And yes, I think,
Rest in peace, Tibbs, yeah?
and even Refilo Ramokhasi, I think he also went to Sacred Heart. All of these elite schools.
Thina sifunde Thembisa High. Nasebuitumeleng, nasebuma TKM, ewelamlambe, Sphiwe, Ekasi.
And just like Abo Kiernan, you came from those families who weren't politically affiliated, who weren't politically protected, who didn't come from the upper suburbs, the Pimvilles, the Deep Cliff extensions, the phases. You know, you came from the real dirt. Kiernan came from the real dirt. And he made it to Bryanston in the north.
Do you want to take this advantage of being on camera with a mic to say this apology properly?
I think I've already said it. And I think the way I posted it with the billboards and everything else, the funeral that we witnessed where Kiernan was laid out for a lamb to the slaughter, I still believe veiled threats were made to him. And veiled threats were made by people so high in power and so high in command that if I am being told, with my measly now double the amount of followers I had last time we spoke, 80,000 odd followers on Instagram, when someone who's in the Ministry of Police talks about a past that was nefarious and how he's a dangerous person because of this nefarious past and says something will be done about this, and then the NPA decides not to prosecute, you know, and Kiernan, after getting clearance from the NPA, you know, tries to continue with his life and rebuilds his life after he's been milked off of every deal. Something that Kiernan never admitted is that this cost him his cruise vodka deal. This cost him endorsement deals. He was made to look like an abuser. We never saw a video of Kiernan abusing his fiancée physically. We never saw the video or heard the sound of him breaking through the door. And we never know why he was breaking through the door, his door. But all I know is that there's no crime called door abuse, you know? And he might have broken through that door to help someone who is having an episode like I possibly might have been having an episode when I first got the news of Kiernan's passing. And in the first 48 hours that I responded to that.
For the first 48 hours that you responded to that, the internet went crazy with your videos. You could have put these lives in danger. Don't Design, for instance.
I received a text.
Don't you owe him an apology as well?
And I posted that. And we love you, Don't Design. As to what we saw in that CCTV footage, I analyzed that. And it's pretty clear. There was some communication between people within Kiernan's team and the assailants.
How sure do you know, though?
I analyzed the video.
It's dangerous to be an internet detective, NOTA.
And unfortunately, that's the position that we're in when we don't have effective detective work that is being done in this country. And we've got an open case like the Senzo Meyiwa case almost a decade later. You know? And that's the pain. Because where Senzo Meyiwa was slain is maybe 400 meters away from where, you know, a lot of recordings, a lot of nights hanging out in Sprayed View with Questa and the team and our Apple and our Beats and our iMacs without security locks or anything else. Right across the street, we could see where Senzo Meyiwa's X6 would park at a house in Sprayed View with no fence. And we could not believe when we first heard that story that there could have been even a story of a break-in. But that time, we didn't speak about our suspicions. And I was like, you know what, this time, let's speak about all our suspicions, because if we leave any stone unturned in this regard, we might regret it, like we are seeing how the Senzo Meyiwa case is being bungled right in front of our eyes. I mean, it's been a circus.
Oh, I can see the post where you're saying, we love you, Don't Design. And the following post says, Don't didn't pull the trigger, Don't didn't order a hit, Don't didn't incite any revenge. Don was with AKA.
And I misspelled revenge.
Revenge, yeah. He doesn't deserve this shit, but you started it. Anyway, sorry guys, I don't.
That's my apology. That's my apology.
I'm reading what NOTA.
Yeah, but that's afterwards.
And then you say, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because I was trying to unincite what I'd started.
Let me just finish it up. Your so-called apologies to Don't Design, because other people are still angry at you, by the way. Megacy, give the mastermind hell and wish the solid oaks well. The truth will come to light. The lion sleeps tonight.
The lion is the super mega.
Also, you were watching the memorial, because I didn't see you at the memorial. If he was your friend, why didn't you make the memorial or the funeral this morning?
I was only released after the memorial, and I was taken in en route to, you know, just going to nap I wasn't going to go to the funeral. It wasn't an environment that I don't want to be while I'm grieving and then seeing people who are recognizing me, who are expecting me to be performative and, at least cordial, where I'm not in the mood to be cordial. I've just come out of a 96-hour involuntary admission at a psychiatric facility where at first I was drugged on schizophrenia drugs, and then thanks to the mercy of my nurses who are fans of the Hustlers Corners, I was put on placebos so that when I was being observed by the psychiatrists, the 4 different psychiatrists who observed me, 3 white, 1 black woman, 3 white men, 1 black woman, the black woman who gave the final opinion and ordered my release, thankfully, with sympathy for what I was feeling, because she might have been aware of the grieving that I was going through, and also noticed that throughout the 96 hours, my condition had improved, my mood had stabilized, and I wasn't going to go out there on social media and be a danger to myself or my friends.
We've got 9 more minutes to go to finish off the podcast, but your last post, before anything else that you're going to post, as of this time right now, recording this podcast on a weekend, I'm sure by Monday we might have posted more, is a picture of our police minister, for those who don't live in South Africa, Minister Bheki Cele. And then you say here with the caption, undeniable culpability. We need the public to file a class lawsuit against the Minister of Police for his department's involvement in gun violence and the circulation of illegal weapons.
Yes, we know that, the gun storage place where at the port was raided, ballistics were taken. We've never heard about how those investigations have gone. We know that the gun locks and the safes at the police stations have been raided by criminals. There's weapons that have been traded. We know about the Cleveland's massacres, the Cleveland's masochists, the murderers, the killers, who were convicted and all given life sentences this week. Which is one of the things that happened this week, a conviction of the, I don't want to use this word because it's been so normalized, but I think we need to actually give the visceral, Inkabi is a dangerous coward. Those dangerous cowards that take lives, shoot people from behind the back shooters. When you're not looking, when you can't defend yourself, that can't face you, that run into corners and run into shadows and take out hits for minuscule amounts of money and go to see pagans and pay muti to people, etc., etc. All those funny and strange things that we see happening, especially in KZN, where a lot of the political violence is. We cannot forget that Kiernan was a politically exposed person. And he died in the same place where, ANC Youth League leader Sindiso Makato was also, assassinated. And we know of the political assassinations that happen within that region. So we need, as a public, to actually call for a class action against the police. We need to file a suit against the police, for the wrongful deaths, for the mournings, the losses that we've had. Because if we do not take accountability or allow law enforcement to take accountability, then we accept the loss of our humanity as South Africans, because we don't draw the line between things that are acceptable and completely intolerable.
2 more suspects we didn't speak about as we're wrapping up the podcast that I think, if you feel we owe them an apology as well, maybe express your feelings right now.
Seso.
You spoke about DJ Phil, you spoke about Don Design, you spoke about Amazulu FC, you've already addressed that. Sasso, you spoke about Sasso.
No, I haven't spoken about Sasso.
No, I'm saying one of your suspects.
Yes, I did. Yes.
So I want you to clarify. So it's Sasso and who, the last two remaining?
DJ Phil. So DJ
No, you spoke about DJ Phil earlier. It's Sasso and who?
Scorpio Sia.
Scorpio Sia.
Yeah.
Let's speak about those. And if you feel also you owe them an apology, there's the camera.
I mean, I don't want to be a person that minces my words, but or backtracks, or it seemed like a flip-flopper.
I understand that, but you were saying some things happened and you were in an institution and you came out and now you're thinking clearer. You're probably even better than a couple of days ago. That's why I feel I'm not saying apologize. I'm saying whatever is on your mind.
No, so what is on my mind is that, you know what? We need to let go and let God. And understand that Kiernan was in a precarious position. And the people that wanted to take his life were going to take him. Yanga said it. There was nothing we could do to save him. We did everything we could. Everybody did everything they could. People who had exited the circle did everything they could. People who were inside the circle did everything they could. And trust me, they used the circle to make Kiernan more and more vulnerable, almost a sitting duck. And they made sure that whatever happens to him, it happens in front of those close to him, those who are trusted, so that it looks like his friends just betrayed him. But they've got nothing to gain from never stepping on stage again with AKA, which was their earnings. They don't have anything to gain from that. It's not like those guys are now going to be driving off in expensive cars or in mansions, or they were. No. What happened to Kiernan is the most painful thing, because all of us have to accept the loss of such a giant and the fact that that gap will never be refilled. And all we can do in his honor is ensure that we protect his legacy and we defend his legacy against anybody that looks to make Cairo's father look like anything other than the truest patriot South Africa has ever produced. And
your last two suspects?
My last two suspects, I spoke to DJ Phil, and I spoke to him about Sasso. I spoke to him and I said, listen, there's not going to be any of that, you can't come to Joburg or anything. None of the Joburg guys are going to do that. You understand? Kiernan's mother spoke at Kiernan's funeral, and she said, we love you, Don Design. She wasn't saying that as in, we love you, snide remark, blah, blah, blah. No. She was saying, let go, let God. The Megacy are not people who are going to act out in revenge and do something violent, which would dishonor Keenan's legacy and totally tarnish the memory that his daughter will have of him. We will not do that to him,
As I wrap it up, what did you think of Burna Boy's so-called tribute track? Or you haven't heard it?
I was away from my phone, so some of the stuff I actually missed.
To wrap up the podcast, I will not play it because of copyright issues, but I will read it for you. Is that okay? Before we go?
Please, I'd love to hear that.
And as we are wrapping it up, let me say Burna Boy, aka Tribute, because I posted about it on social media. I won't tell you what I said. I want to hear your thing first. Okay.
My reaction.
Here it is. Okay. It would have been nice for me to play. I'll play it for you off air, but let me read the lyrics of what it says. Very short. I think it's just a little over a minute long, but it says, let me read the lyrics. It says, okay. WTF is all that about. I just heard he died. Seen that video at the restaurant. Took me out of a positive mood. Took me back to that day when you saw my gun and you said I was wild. Then I told you you should have one too. But I didn't want you dead. I was like that with me and it was like that with me and you. Have one too. Cause it weren't like niggas wasn't dying, but I thought you knew. And I ain't really F with you. Wicked. I hope they catch whoever did you wicked. I hope you rest in peace, even though we ain't kick it. At the end of the day, with some grown ass you'll hear the rest
Nigerians.
of it. Our brothers, we're all Africans. We're the same people. So what do you mean?
You sounded like you were saying NIG.
Oh yeah, like ninjas.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Okay.
not Nigerians, ninjas.
Okay, yeah,
Like
I was trying to finish it off.
Yeah, the N-word, yeah.
So, okay. So,
Ongaptied, innit?
no.
You listen to it at your own time.
Look, Burna is a weird character. I know him. All I'm saying is that Kiernan gave so much of himself. He created so many careers. Burna's included. Yanga Chief. Lots of guys. Casper in your vest. You understand? And
now you're saying a controversial statement. The TBPNs are going to be mad at you.
I understand.
Are you saying
but
Kiernan?
Casper said it himself. He said,
What did he say?
He said that, yo, the person that we're honoring is someone I wouldn't be where I am without.
Okay.
And he said, the only reason I'm not at his funeral, at his memorial, is because I'm out of the country. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the same thing I said to Questa on the phone when I spoke to him. I said, that's your twin. You are nothing without that man. And not to say that in a diminutive way. It's Questa, like we were having an honest conversation. Obviously, he had to step aside from where he was. He just picked up his daughter from school. Like he does, he takes her to school and that's what he does. Like that's his day job. Questa's day job, apart from rapping part-time, is that he takes his daughter to school.
He's a full-time father.
He's a full-time
family man.
Yeah, that's
well
it.
done, bro. Keep it up.
You know what I mean? We don't have many Kwaito stars that have had that opportunity. And some Kwaito stars who missed out on that opportunity have to do other things to protect us. Your former business partner is secretary of the ruling party in this country. And he was always the politician. And he's one of us from the Kwaito generation. Even though you guys are the older generation that fathered us, he's one of our fathers from our generation that's there. He's one of our sympathizers that's there. He's one of the people that ensures that the Gauteng provincial government at least looks after its artists, because he was a starving artist. He could never starve an artist. And
How did you feel when they didn't grant him the state funeral?
well, I feel like it wasn't about him being granted one. I feel like Sim Dope took care of it. He didn't need it. And he left it for those that need it. He wouldn't take unnecessarily from the state. That's not who Keenan was. He gave. He never got paid for an ANC gig where he wore the flag. Ever.
What would you like to say to Tibbs' family?
I mean, wow. Tibbs taught us everything. You know, Tibbs set the bar. You know, Tibbs' greatest achievement was AKA. And AKA's greatest accomplishment was honoring the promise that Tibbs always told us that his lighty had. He oversold him for many, many years until we finally saw and believed. You know, we finally saw that actually this guy is SA hip hop, embodied, personified, and eulogized. Because if you listen to his music, he eulogizes South African culture in a way that makes everything else seem ephemeral, you know, as temporary as an Instagram story, you know. And it's so sad that after his last moments, all we were left with of Keenan was the ephemeral, was his final Instagram stories. The best part is that in his final Instagram stories, we didn't see his eyes behind shades. The best part is that he was back at his best. And when I was released from my psychiatric observation, I was blessed with 1 girl's not enough for me, 2 girls not enough for me.
What, you have a new
3
baby?
girls not enough for me.
What?
No, the song Company.
Oh, you mean company. Oh, okay.
Dude! What a smash!
What a film
Finally!
song. I can't wait for the
waiting.
album. I can't wait for the album.
You don't understand how much I've been praying to say that about a song that Keenan's released. I've been underwhelmed by everything.
I just can't wait to listen to the rest
Do you
of the album.
understand?
I saw a clip of him saying, "Oh, to Arena." Like you could just feel that this man is looking forward to his comeback. And I think this album is going to be his biggest work yet.
All I'm saying
and I
is
think
that-
this album was going to be that album that takes him to the rest of the world properly. The way he should be global.
This is the greatest comeback ever. Shout out to Nevo for that wonderful, you know, art direction in the photo shoots that he did and everything else. And also,
apparently that picture that is used everywhere is like this. That photo shoot was done the day before he passed on. I didn't know that.
that's Nevo. Shout out to Nevo, the perfectionist, you know, and he's a perfectionist. I mean, even how it looks on a billboard.
Stunning. What a beautiful send-off. Stunning, quality,
Shout out to
amazing.
his entire team that put that together. And shout out to Mtogo again, my friend. who went to the family, and said, yo, NOTA, I can do something. Tell me where to go or who to go to. And he did that. Nobody had to pay a cent for that. Nobody's paying a cent for that. But that's how much we love, AKA we're going to make sure that on William Nicol, where people complain about the traffic, they won't forget about the man that they listened to on the radio every time they were taking their kids to school. The man that kept them company and steered them away from road rage and into safe delivery of the next generation of inheritors of this great land, where Keenan, is the Doro, the super.
It was great to
the
see
mega.
the whole industry there at the memorial. It was great to see Sizwe Mpofuo. Shout outs to you, my brother. Kamza, it was great to see you, my brother. Sitting next
Ivy
to
League,
JR, his
Papa.
wife, NTT, Ivy League. They went on stage and they were doing their thing there.
Ivy League, Papa.
They took us memories back. Shout outs to Pastor Kabelo.
So we the main attraction, they clap for
Kabelo
us.
gave an amazing prayer. He spoke very
That's
well.
elevator action.
JR spoke very well.
Jackson couldn't be
Yanga
as
spoke
dangerous.
very well.
Happens.
And
Oh,
lastly,
the
do you
framework. Let me
think
get
justice
the
will be served, or do you think this will be another Senzo?
I believe that the police will not investigate themselves. And I think it's up to the legacy to ensure that we ensure that his legacy lives on, so that we show what gun violence can rob us of as a nation. It can rob us of our greatest ambassadors. It can rob us of those true patriots who flew the flag when there was no pride in doing so, where there was only shame on the colors of the nation. And he wiped that away, with such ease, so cavalierly that we thought it was just too easy for him. He made it look simple, but it was never easy to be the super mega. He never had an easy journey. He had to fight for everything. He had to scrap for everything. And that hardened him in a way that made some people uneasy. And he accepted that. It's very difficult to choose to be unpopular and stand with the truth. It's something I've had to learn to do. And I've only been able to do because I've seen how courageously he did it.
Are you scared
For what?
for your life?
No.
Do you get threats out there from
No.
people?
I get love. And so did Keenan, even in Durban.
Look after yourself, my brother.
Let's all look after ourselves as the legacy, as South Africans. Let's all look after ourselves. We've lost a true one, a true patriot. And Yanga, that speech that he gave was every bit as moving as I dreamed it would be every night where I worried about Keenan's safety.
Keenan, I saw you come to the game, my brother. At the time it was tabooed. We never thought anybody singing or rapping in English would break through. Anybody that would do an R&B song in English or a hip-hop song in English, we never thought they'd break through in this industry. And
without
if you
a vernac
remember
record.
also when Pro was with TS, he
Give me
even
some
spoke,
bad
he rapped
credits.
even more vernac, because that's where the country was at that time. But I kind of feel he didn't only just break that ceiling for the hip-hop culture in the country. I think he broke it for the entire music industry, where today we've got the likes of Abo Shekinah, you've got the likes of Abo Elaine, you've got an
Java.
entire diversity of
Shoma Josie.
music lovers in South Africa that can appreciate all this buffet, 7 colors of creativity that we all have. And I believe you're one of those main artists that literally just, the ones who did it before you, they did it so that you could propel and just break through that ceiling, and your legacy will forever live on. Megacy, may you rest in peace, my brother. Tibbs, Tebelo Mtswane, thank you for the incredible work that you've done and the contributions into the industry. Lalanu Ngoxolo Bafethu. And to the families, condolences. May you find solace in the Almighty Unkulunkulu. And thank you very much for borrowing us your seeds and all of the lives that they changed and all the inspiration that poured towards this amazing nation called South Africa. Some of us still love this nation. We still have a lot of hope for our country. A lot of people still are speaking negatively about the country. Everybody's complaining it's going down to the dogs. There's still people like us who are inspired by AKA carrying his flag the whole time, being a true patriot, who still love this country and we still believe in it and we believe in the youth of this country. That's how we've even formed platforms like these. Thank you very much for everything. And may you be healed as time goes on. Thank you, Nota.
Forbesy, go well, my friend. Let's let go, let God, and always raise the legacy up high. Peace out.
See you soon.
Next Monday.
Next episode. He says next Monday. Guys, do you want him next Monday? Right there. If you don't want him anymore, he won't be here next Monday.
No, well,
let's see the comments there.
Let's do a Monday where we're not mourning, like it's the afternoon.
It's just difficult to even, smile and laugh right now. Let's go have lunch and have a chat.
Yeah.
And I really do think you've got a lot of potential, Nota.
Thank you.
You do ruffle a lot of feathers from time to time, but a lot of the times I think if anyone can get an opportunity to listen to Nota on this platform, yes, I hear the noise and everywhere else, but just listen to I think now this is the 5th episode you've been on the Hustlers Corner?
Yeah,
or 6th? Go check out all his interviews and listen to his mind. I think you'll have a different perspective of a brother here. And I really do think there's something here. And I think there is never, we're all human beings and all love one another. If there's potential somewhere, I think work with it. It might end up turning into something incredible. And I believe Nota is one of the geniuses that we have in this country. He's rough around the edges, but I think with time, his brilliance will shine properly the way it should.
I mean, they said that about AKA. So I don't see that as too much of a challenge. My last conversation with AKA, like Cavalier, before he departed for his fiance's funeral, was like, do you think you can ever take it, like, with all this pressure? And I promised him that no one has been better trained, no one has been better prepared. And with my vast knowledge of the length and breadth of this nation, I mean, I haven't been taken to as many private bathrooms as AKA or Drake, but I've got a lot to learn. And I've got 2 years younger than him where I can try and catch up. I mean, that's the level he was at. You never saw AK at the airport because he goes through the VIP entrance.
I love you, bro. Finish off.
That's it.
Love you guys.
Peace out.
This is the Hustlers Corner.